going on, people? Good afternoon. Welcome to United View. There has been another update on Antony's statements released by Manchester United, statement released by Antony himself. And off the back of that, some journalists have clarified the situation. I've always said here on United View, we will talk about this and address this whole situation whenever there are official statements. And that's exactly what we've had this Sunday afternoon. So let me get out the statements for you guys to understand the context of what's going on, the facts of what's going on, and where we are at this current stage. And the Manchester United statement goes as follows, guys. Manchester United acknowledges the allegations made against Antony. Players who have not participated in international matches are due back in training on Monday. However, it has been agreed with Antony that he will delay his return until further notice in order to address the allegations. As a club, we condemn acts of violence and abuse. We recognize the importance of safeguarding all those involved in this situation, and acknowledge the impact these allegations have on survivors of abuse. And Antony follows that up with a short statement, and he says, quote, "I have agreed with Manchester United to take a period of absence while I address the allegations made against me. I want to reiterate my innocence of the things I have been accused of, and I will fully cooperate with police." Also, with a little bit of extra context with some of the journalists who have been talking about what's going on. Rob Dawson said that Man United were keen to clarify that Antony has not been suspended, and that this time away from the club is being described as a leave of absence. So, the club are being quite vocal on that in telling the journalists that. A couple of other journalists have ran with that same line, so they've definitely been briefed. That's definitely a line from the club, that this is a mutual situation decided between the player and the club. This isn't the club saying, you're out, you're gone, you're suspended indefinitely. This is the player and the club coming to the arrangement or the decision that it's best that he takes time out. He also says, Rob Dawson says, he remains on full pay and there is no time scale for his return. Decision signed off by Richard Arnold after talks with Erik ten Hag. And, as I'm recording this, there's still some stuff coming in off the back end of that as well, which is basically reiterating the same thing, that it's a joint decision. So it is interesting. I mean, from my point of view, what I find interesting is, obviously, Antony hasn't been charged. He's been on Brazilian TV, doing quite an intense interview, giving his side of the story, and how Manchester United are portraying this, and how this has been agreed clearly with Antony's statement and Manchester United's statement, is that they're allowing us to. Well, in my opinion, I read it as Antony's basically saying as well that I've got a lot on my plate. I don't want this distraction, and it's best that I, fight this situation to clear his name. In his opinion, he hasn't done any of the things he's been accused of, and he's gonna, it looks like, I'm assuming, stay in Brazil, put all of his attention into clearing his name. That's the Antony point of view. We can look at it. I say we. I don't want to say what everyone else thinks. I can also look at it from the other point of view and say Manchester United, having, in my opinion, not dealt with the Mason Greenwood situation well at all. They want to make sure that, they do what they feel is right in this time. Their continuous reference to people who have been abused before, people who could be triggered by this, victims and survivors of domestic abuse. They're using that line a lot, that they are aware of it. So I think this is an attempt of Manchester United also, because they know the spotlight is on them, to deal with this in a different way. Again, what's interesting is that Antony hasn't been charged, and Mason Greenwood obviously was charged. But I think the clear difference here, which the club is saying and Antony is saying, is that they haven't suspended him. Mason Greenwood got suspended. So there is always going to be parallels with these two situations, given the sensitive nature and the disgusting allegations that have been made against both players. The difference here is, of course, there's little pieces of things being played out from some of the alleged victims that they're putting out on social media. This one's a lot more public in terms of Antony's going on TV, pretty much in tears, and giving his side of the story. And the truth is, we don't know. Do you know what I mean? In my opinion, I don't know if Antony has or hasn't done this. Antony is saying that he hasn't, and there are some alleged victims who are claiming that he has. He vows to clear his name. He vows that he's working with the police and giving evidence that will show that he's innocent. That's up to Antony. He's defending his name. I don't know whether Antony's done this or not. I don't, when it comes to people in their private lives and footballers and co-signing footballers and saying they definitely didn't do this or they definitely did do that, I'm very reluctant to do that, because I know there's a lot of situations that happen outside when we have no idea. We have no idea. So this is an ongoing investigation. So Antony's gone off to clear his name. He's saying that he needs time to do that, and he's agreed with the club. We will never know. We will never know if the club forcefully did this. We will never know. I mean, we saw Jadon Sancho speaking out about, how he felt versus what was said by the manager. Would Antony come out and say, this hasn't been agreed, I feel let down by the club? It doesn't seem that way, but we will never know. We are not privy to those conversations behind closed doors. All we can go off is what's been told to us, basically, within official capacity. And this is why I prefer to speak on these things when there are official lines, because everything else is hearsay. You're going to get people that will want to discredit alleged victims and call them liars and say they're probably lying, they're just trying to ruin his career. And you're going to get other people saying Antony probably did this, and this is footballers, etc., etc. But what we have seen in the past in football is that many players have played with ongoing allegations surrounding them. That has happened a lot in the past. But in this case, again, they haven't legally suspended him. They've given him a period of absence. They've given him time off. They've given him time of leave, an agreed time of leave for him to go and sort this situation out. And for the club as well, in terms of people who have been affected by domestic abuse, who have survived and been subject to that sort of issue, it protects them as well. And also in terms of the club and the circus and the attention that is on this situation on a match day, when it's Brighton at home, when it's whatever the next game is after that, continuous games of Antony still in the squad while fighting this, they've probably looked at and says it doesn't do anybody involved any favors. And you would probably, these things are case by case situations. Sometimes players play through it, as we've seen, and then whatever happens, happens. Sometimes people get suspended, but more time people get suspended when there's been an actual charge, because yes, in this country, it's innocent until proven guilty, etc., etc. And there is a process that needs to be followed. I'm not a law expert, so I'm not going to profess to be. I'm not going to pretend to be, and I'm not going to talk about things that I don't know. But I'll give you guys my opinion so far based on what's happened, and that's how I see it. I actually see it as it's best for all parties that it probably is this. If Antony's saying, why he wants to clear his name, his head's not in it, and he can't cope and all this stuff, I see that being an issue. If you're talking about people who this is very triggering for today is, World Suicide Prevention Day. There are a lot of issues happening. There are people who have directly been affected by these sorts of situations, and now they get to know that they can maybe not see this situation right now because it's gone while it's been worked out. So it protects survivors and it protects victims, and also it protects the rest of the players at the club to not have to be around a circus and a situation where Antony's in there with these allegations. So all round, in my opinion, I think it's probably the right decision that he goes off and goes and handles what he needs to handle. I don't see this. If they just suspended him, without him making a comment and he wasn't part of this, and this didn't look like this was discussions between all parties, then that would have been a different discussion. But I think the way that it's been handled, we will never know the real truth about, how mutual was this. Did Antony just say, I've got no choice, my cards are down, I'm fighting for my life, I'm fighting for my name, I fight for my freedom in Brazil, so whatever United decide, I'll just go with? Or is this as mutual as they say it is? We will never know. But the general consensus of doing it like this, I think it does more good than harm, is what I would say, than having Antony here, constant pressure for everybody that I just mentioned all around this. So that is the latest on the Antony situation. Again, it seems like the club, well, not seems like the club haven't put a time scale on his return. So that is another, again, positive where they can, I say positive, is another something you can look at and say, well, that's probably why, you know, they've done it this way, because it could be 3 months, it could be a year. You know, who knows what's going to happen with Antony? It could go to court and then it could go to trial. I don't know. I have no idea at this stage. I have no idea how this is going to play out. All we know is that Antony's saying he will get proved innocent, and he's working with the police to do so. So there's no timescale on him coming back. We don't know. And again, as I always say, I will speak about this when there is more word. But I think with the way Manchester United have sort of worded that statement, they've left it so they basically don't need to say anything until there's a conclusion now. So I think now what we'll get is a long period of silence from Manchester United, not because they don't want to say anything, but because they've said he's gone until further notice. He's gone to handle his business. There is no return date. So until there is a development with what's going on with him, I very much doubt that while this is going on, they'll say, "Oh, he feels he's sorted out most of it, so let's bring him back." I don't think Antony will be back at Man. In my opinion, I don't think Antony will be back until there is a foregone conclusion, either way, with this Antony, with this whole situation. So whenever that happens, we'll talk. If Antony releases another statement, we'll discuss it. But again, like I always urge you guys here in the community, we're a loving community, we're a warm community, we're a welcoming community. And like I said, out of 150,000 subscribers of this channel, think statistically how many people would or maybe currently being affected by situations like this. So when you are in the comments, please just be courteous. Not everything is just, it's just about football and snowflakes, etc., etc. In my opinion, everybody has a duty to protect people, to care for people, and to make it a safe space for people. And I will do that. I will lead from the front in terms of how I want the channel to be and people on the channel and you guys. But I need you guys' help as well to just be courteous in the comments and think before you write things. Everyone's got a right to an opinion. I understand that. But me personally, you know my background, you know my beliefs, you know my morals. And this is something that I take very, very seriously. So for me, please don't be laughing and joking in the comments, etc., etc. And yeah, just be courteous and be caring. Take care, guys. We'll be back later on with the full view. I did see some stuff coming out about Jadon Sancho's got planned talks with Eric Ten Hag and some stuff about that. We'll cover that on the full view. I just think it was very important to discuss this and this only for this statement on Antony. Take care, guys, and I'll see you again in the evening. Peace.